This is a beautiful day outside, May Day, but it's raining. But you're all here, you beat the weather. We really appreciate you choosing to spend your evening with us. We have a very special guest, and we're very excited to have him with us. But I see some new faces, so let me say a few words about Washington Nepal Forum, the group that is actually putting this event together. Washington Nepal Forum is a network of young Nepali professionals living in the DC metro area. Basically, it's a way for all of us, sort of like-minded friends who are interested in Nepal, interested in issues of Nepal, to come together, work on issues, provide a platform for worthy speakers like the one that we have today, and basically have a good time while doing it. We have a website which is conveniently named WashingtonNepalForum.org, and also a Facebook page. Please check it out. You can learn more about what we have done before and what we plan to do in future. I won't take too much of your time. My friend Sharad Ghimire, who's going to start his master's in economic policy, not environmental policy, at AU this fall, will moderate today's event. And I'm going to actually let him introduce our speaker. Once again, thank you so much for coming. I look forward to Professor Krishna's talk, and let's give him a big round of applause as I welcome.
Thanks, Vivek. Welcome to you all. We have Professor Krishna Hachhethu today for our event, and I would like to introduce Professor Hachhethu very briefly, and we'll suddenly jump into our discussion because we are already running out of time. Professor Hachhethu is a professor of political science. He is currently affiliated at Central Department of Political Science. Before he was also a professor at the CINA, that is the Center for Nepal and Asian Studies at Tribhuvan University, Nepal. And he is also visiting scholar to a number of foreign universities, including Oxford University. And he was also member of a high-level committee on state restructuring that government of Nepal constituted for the Constituent Assembly, and he is also country coordinator for South Asian Democracy Study Center, and he has been working with many international organizations, including International IDEA, DFID, UNDP, NORAD, on many projects related to democracy, governance, political parties, elections, state restructuring, party building, and so on. And he is author of number of books and articles. Some of the notable books are like Party Building in Nepal, that was published in 2002, and Nepal in Transition, that was published in 2008, and State Building in Nepal, that was published in 2009. And his recent publication, that is in Nepali, I guess, and it is I think outcome of one conference, seminar, that was organized by Nepal Center for Contemporary Studies, that is one leading research organization in Kathmandu. Professor Hachhethu is also member of that organization. Recently, he is a professional and personal tour in the United States, and he had meeting with New School University at New York, and he is joining another meeting at Cornell University in Dhaka, I think next week.
Nepal Forum, giving me an opportunity to interact with Nepali diaspora in the most influential, important countries in USA, and the capital of the USA, Washington DC. Actually, I'm interested to know how Nepali diaspora is looking about the contemporary politics of Nepal, or what is going on. So my role is just to, initiate our discussion. That is why I will not speak much. Though when professor begin to speak, Normally, the class in the university is 1.5 hours, but I never get satisfaction without taking 1.5 hour class. But here, really, I'm really interested to understand how Nepal is perceived by the Nepali diaspora. So, just to give a warm-up, what is happening in Nepal? If you look back from the 1951 onward, or the 1951, that is the, what is a benchmark that Nepal entered really in the modern world. Just it was the entry point. And basic characteristic of the Nepali politics, from 1951 to till now, you will find some sort of the consistency. So I will try to link up today's discussion topics with what is the continuity we have. Of course, the title slightly changes. We continuously inherited three major characteristics of Nepali politics from 1951 onward. Number one is we have always been a prolonged transition. Prolonged transition eventually negatively contributed for the radical change. And prolonged transition eventually solved for the establishment. Or you can say it helped just for incremental change. If you have an aspiration of radical change, revolutionary change, comprehensive change, the day enter with this agenda. But if you fail to translate these comprehensive, radical, or revolutionary change agenda in the short span, over the time these agendas landed into very moderate form, or say very incremental one. So what we are now facing, the prolonged transit, I mean the 2006 mass uprising is an entry point. And what are the agendas that introduce, that accompany with that change, unless it will not be translated into constitutional pluralism, then still it is a very vibrant time of the transition. So the prolonging of the transition, eventually people, what is say, kind of, that is Nepali word, थाक्ने अनि थकाउने त्यसको अनि बिस्तारै चाहिँ त्यो गलाउने के पनि नहुँ. It happened in 1951 as well. अब हामी त जन्मेका थिएनन्. Imagine the 1951, what was the dream of the people in 1951 when all of a sudden century-long Rana establishment collapsed. And there was an aspiration of the radical change. But it takes almost 8 years or 9 years to consolidate what was changed in 1951, not in the same spirit and the same degree, but the 8 years transition eventually we can say produced the king become more powerful than the political parties. King was the symbol of the traditional force. King was the symbol of the establishment. And if transition went in natural course, political parties who represent the peoples, they should prevail in many things, but it did not happen. And if you go everyday accounts for that 9 years, eventually it solved the interest of monarchy and political parties. Now, after 2006, it is 2014, right? 8 years has been already passed, but we are still not able to consolidate the agenda. It was come up with the 2006 mass uprising and failed to till now translate into constitutional provision. eventually the different national psyche is, you will observe. Just in informal conversation, I am referring my friends. Just 2 days before I traveled to USA, I went to a bookshop and asked what type of books that the readers are more interested in this time. Because he knows my background, he knows my discipline. He said that, so a few years back, people are coming to look a book on state restructuring, federalism, democracy, Maoist tendency. Now it is this, none of these books are interested. People who, then what are the areas that people are now interested? They say biography, autobiography, novel. See, I see some sort of consistency between 50s and this and that. The second, if you go through the whole electoral history of Nepal, because prediction of the future politics by taking one election is not sufficient. If you see the whole electoral history, then you can say there is a pattern. The pattern is the election result always went against the ruling party. Anti-incumbency voting has become the rule of the game in Nepal. It is not the present one. The third is the parties who suffer in the split on the eve of election, in every election they lose. So these are the, you can say, some of the consistent, or when it is consistent you can say it's a permanent capture in this policy. You somehow get a similar repeat of the history, you can say repeat of the history. Let us see the recent 2013 election. Okay, you will see revival of traditional political party, Nepali Congress and Himalayan, as the dominant actors of the constitution making under CA2. Their combined seat is increased from 37% in the CA first to 64% in the CA second, short of only 3% for 2/3 majority. A magic number required to pass the provisional constitution. The point is Nancy and Yumale are the architect of the previous 1990 constitution, a constitution that rejected the idea of democracy. So perhaps you will hear several times that party leaders, what they showed in private meeting to revive the 1990 constitution, just replacing the old monarchy by republic. Sometimes they come up openly, with unconscious or conscious manner. So mindset of the traditional parties will be one set. So it means the revival of the traditional political parties will not allow you to carry the spirit of the 2006 popular uprising. 2006 popular uprising is, you can say, a kind of rejection of the 1990s model of the Nepali democracy. The second point, see, decrease the strength of left from 62% in CA first to 47% in CA second. Obviously, all over the world, left image is associated with radical change in compared to other. How much they are radical in their action, that is different. But the image that people understood, communists is radical. Communists like the revolutionary change. That kind of a psyche. So if left is considered as relatively more radical, more progressive than the Democrats, in Nepali discourse we use liberal Democrats, then their strength is also reduced from 62% to 47%. In the first CA election, 62% seat people with different communist tag occupied, but now it reduced to 47%. third is revival of dominant groups with strengths of only 32%. CA first to now 47% of the CA. This you will see this pattern or consistency of the pattern. Every subsequent election helped to increase the number of representation of dominant group. If you take the 1959 election, the first general election, at the time you will find almost 23–24% of the we call Madhisis, and more or less similar of the Janajatis. After that, we got the election based on the adult franchise only in 1991, right? In 1981, after a referendum. Before that, we had indirect election system, or you can say election by manipulation. But in the first election happened immediately after referendum, you will find tremendously new cases. Most of the new cases comes from the Madhisis and Janajatis. But in 1986 election, the subsequent the number reduced substantially. Again, the dominant class representation number increased. This is also repeating here. Previously, out of 601 CA members in the first CA, the total number of the dominant groups was 32%. Now it increased 41%, increment of 9%, obviously at the cost of the marginalized. Okay, then what will be, these 3 points, what will be the implication of constitution making? One is inclusion is the new word, even for the student of political science. In Nepali word, Samaveshi. We hardly hear that word in the political discourse before the 2006 popular uprising. But 2006 popular uprising come up with include Samaveshi Loktantra as a national mission, national goal. So what will be implication of this election result for the inclusion? You will see promise and preference, gap between promise and profit. Interim constitution is a reflection of the popular uprising 2006. It was promulgated in 2007. 2007 ma interim constitution it embodied the spirit of the 2006. The promise is there, but what is likely to happen? So you will see the gap between preference and the promise. Promise. There shall be made progressive restructuring of the state with inclusive democratic federal system of governance by doing away with the centralized and unitary structure of the state, so as to end giving emphasis discrimination based on class, caste, language, gender, culture, religion, and region. And the point that is notable here is everywhere, you will hardly get any constitution that acknowledges the existing state is exclusive. With this provision, the interim constitution acknowledges that Nepal has long been an exclusionary state. And it said that its mission is to replace that exclusionary state into inclusive state. But what is the preference? I give you a quotation from the Sushil Koirala. Just before he became the Prime Minister, he was asked a question. CA2 is going to be less inclusive. The question was put with some, suspicion. His answer is, no one can deprive women, Janjati, Dalit, Muslim and other marginal group of their right anymore. But, he deliberately put, but our society has become so much more competitive. The women movement and inclusion had only just begun. So if you go to the whole text, the message you wanted to state, what is talking the public discourse, it is more than the movement just begun. So, If you go to the provision of interim constitution, you will see the promise for radical, comprehensive, and universal change. But the preference after the change of political equation in the second CA election, you will see, no, we will go incremental course. The order is see then the again the especially on federalism provision. Interestingly, many of us did not categorically know what is the spirit of that provision. Interim constitution, Nepal shall be a federal democratic republic state, while recognizing the desire of indigenous people and of the people, indigenous people and the people of the backward and other area, including Malaysians. It obviously implicated that federalism, Nepal entered into federalism with a realization that there are three groups of the people which are excluded. One is Malaysians, the second is Janajatis, and people of backward means indicated to people living in the far west region, or west from the Kerala. And the interim constitution, if you follow this sentence, it says that federalism will solve the interests who has long been excluded. Group interests. Who are they? Malaysis, Janajatis, and people living in the backward region. But preference, see what Susil Koirala said. Concerning federalism, the people have given their mandate against ethnic federalism. Only the number and naming of federal states remain. We want to start with a small number, as too many states might not be viable. I want to begin with 5. Our party and Himalaya stand is 7 provinces, but I would say that we go even lower than 10. So if you try to find out what is the gap between promise and province, in promise there is lacking. What is lacking? One of the substantially numerical groups' voices was not given, was not taken by the interim constitution. It says Janajatis, Malaysians, people living in the backward region. So it completely excludes what will be the mindset of the dominant group, which constitutes 30% of the total population. But in preference, you will see it tends to say, okay, forget about the Malaysians, forget about the Janajatis, forget about the people living in the backward region. So it gives a message that let 5 development regions, what we have now, let it translate into simply province. The message, you will see the gap between promise and profit difference here. What is ethnic federalism? That is the way it is discoursed in Nepal. Ethnic federalism is called a single identity based federalism. That was portrayed. Especially media played a very active role. Ekal pahisan bhanako ethnic federalism. Actually, ethnic federalism is very different from just the identity based. And if you go through the report of the State Listening Committee of FASI and the report of the State Listening High Level Commission, it says that, personally I don't buy the idea of ethnic federalism. The proposal was not ethnic, but whole the media, party leaders, those who, let's say, one who produced the ideas, other who disseminate, all they use ethnic federalism. If it is ethnic federalism, what will it look like? It is in the name of province. Delineation of provincial boundary on the basis of geographical contiguity in settlement target ethnic group that require a change in existing administrative boundary. That's it. Number second is, it was not decided by just 2-3. It was a unanimous decision taken by the representative Congress, everybody. This is the major consensus issue now. The third is number. At ethnic group with the strength of minimum 1% in total population of country deserve for getting province in its name. The order, there are long provision of autonomous citizen right to self-religion, first right on natural resources, first right. Let's say, if the first CA state system committees and the commission recommendation will taken in good faith, then these four will be the attributes of the federal Nepal. But which is unlikely to happen in the second CA. So, non-ethnic federalism is added in Nepali word बहुपहचानको सम्झना. What is multi-identity testament? Okay, there are number of alternative proposals given to multi-identity test. I am borrowing quote unquote. One is non-ethnic name of province, or if there is ethnic, it should be multiple name, ethnic and non-ethnic. And like the Nevada Parliament. That's it. Delineation provincial were based on existing administrative division. The idea of re-demarcation of the territory, internal territory, is rejected by the propounder of multi-identity investment. Third is lesser number of federal units, 5 to 7. If this second model is going to be actualized, then the words which was recommended by commissions in this, blue, it will be omitted. Autonomous region, then right to self-determination, first right on natural resources, these provisions will not be given place. So it will be, that will be taken out, and you will see the gap between these two contested proposals. And what is non-ethnic federalism that I really wanted to understand and share with you and your opinion is, it is territorial federalism covered by a nice word, multi-identity based federalism. नेपालीमा क्षेत्रीय संहिता भन्छ त्यसलाई, प्रशासनिक संहिता भन्छ. This party is favoring this model as 73% representation. I put the RPPs, all RPPs in here. In CA second, against parties advocating identity-based federalism constitutes 27%. If you go to the mathematics, then it's obviously what is likely to happen. Logic behind territorial federalism. What are the logics? So now I'll give up the using the word multi-identity based territorial federalism. Capability by having smaller number of federal units which not south vertical demarcation of province and territory. This is the major argument given by those who advocate this one. Then what will be its political outcome? Mixed settlement, political implication of mixed settlement. So this multi-identity based use this word. Why we need multi-identity based? The answer is simple, because the settlement is the mix. So what would be its implication? एउटा के हो त भन्दाखेरि, number 1, electoral history of Nepal suggests that dominant groups, Brahmin, Kshatriya and Nevars, have the advantage from the mixed settlement. You will find number of the records that Brahmin, Kshatriya or Nevar, they got victory from extreme establishment to extreme concept. But in the case of order, there are rare cases that people with ordered ethnic group background get victory from place other than your ancestral land. There is one exceptional case, Mani Lama, Ilambata Jigetaku, and there is not cases that the Tamang could get victory from the horse. You will see the how you becoming dominant or excluded groups have it in place. Magar's case, Gurun case, and all the Madhisis have not yet any case to get victory from the hills. The advantage of mixed settlement, those who are in the dominant, they are potential gainer elsewhere. But if you are excluded group, your space will be very much confined to the place where what belongs to your ancestral land. जुन एउटा बागमती वरिपरि तामाङहरु भन्छ नि, त्यहाँबाट you will get the cases that the Tamang will get victory. तर Have you heard any Tamang got victory from the Kathmandu Valley? One case exception is Manila. Maybe there is some other cases, just like about Thakari from Chitwan, a mixed exception. These the rare cases of but general story tells that the mixed settlement has always in favor of the dominant group in terms of electoral win. In the 7th province model, once browsed out by the Nepali government, the hill high cast a demographic advantage in all 5 provinces suggested in the hill. Nepali Congress le ekpata bahas गर्ने निमित्त भनेर 7वटा प्रदेशको नक्सा कोडेर ल्याएको थियो। त्यो नक्सा कोड्दाखेरि दुईटा मधेस भनेर मधेसी province भनेर excluding Jhapa Modern Sunsari in the east and Kanchanpur and Kailali in the west. त्यो दुईटा homogeneous state थियो, dominated by in the east Madhesis, in the west Tharus. But the rest of 5 provinces suggested in the hill. And every province, dominant groups have numerical advantage. Numerical advantage to plus point ke hota bhanदाखेरि if you are our which Robert Book mentioned, winnability, electoral winnability कसरी हुन्छ त भनेर भन्दाखेरि he gives the 3 clues. One who have higher status in the society. The second who have good economic position. The third who have nexus with the administration and the political power. You 3 वटै उमाता dominant group Brahmin Kshatriya Newas are in the comfortable position and social hierarchy, education, exposure and administrative and political reason. Because Shidyo and Saladis can make many difference in the electoral outcomes administrative. Or representatives through PR component on the basis of its best demographic province double advantage के होता है हामी का PR भनेको the seat is allocated in proportion to size of the population. If in the 5 provinces suggesting the hills, Brahmin Kshatriya are numerically dominant than let us say one imaginary province Tamil. If Brahmin Kshatriya are numerically higher than the Tamil, obviously PR seats will be greater to that community because that is the what we understand. So dominant group will have a double advantage. If you want to, what will be the likely scenario? I will give you one fact. After 1987, that is the latest local election. After that, it did not happen. 1997. 1997. Out of 75 districts, 68% top post was Jilla Vikasको सभापति. 68% top position was occupied by Brahmin Kshatriya. So that is the federalism will provide you a middle space, a new political space. If the new political space is also created in a way the same dominant group will occupy, then what the story, the cause behind transforming Nepal into federal state, then it will be very difficult to explain. Okay, and here is representation. I will simply say the whole, even last 2 elections, PR, because it has a mandatory provision to distribute the seat in proportion to size of population. Now, every efforts are being made to downsize the representation from the PR. If you look back, put the election result of FVTP and PR separately. FVTP has always been an advantage for dominant groups. Even in the CFS, you will have 41% FVTP for total 240 seat dominant group. Now it increased to 56%. अहिले को पछिल्लो 240 seat FVTP मा 56% seat is won by the dominant group. And PR group ले balance गरायो. PR because PR seat is allocated in proportion to the size of population. त्यो भनेपछि the Brahmin Kshatriya is 30, 70 is excellent group to balance गरायो. Now the target came out how to downsize the seat allocated for the PR. And two example cases. Committee for Determination of the Legislature, in the first CA, it proposed that 55% total seats should be FPTP and PR should be down to 45. The system, when election was, it was 55. This was copied by May 2012 political understanding. So last slide. Okay, reservation. Apparently 45% reservation is given to the excluded groups. But the pattern is, what is going on? When the result come out, the first result made for the reserved seats, not the general seats. And one who are competent enough to get seat from the common seat, they will put into the reserved seat. For instance, one of my colleagues who is in our faculty, Central Department, he was passed off of his, and no doubt he could get the seat from the general. But the system is the result first come from the reserved seats. And eventually there are reservation for backward provision, reservation for women, reservation of disabled. Actually, if you simply make the whole social category into dominant and excluded, almost 75% seats goes to the dominant. So indirectly it is helping to retain the status quo in terms of who dominate the bureaucracy. Okay, the third, now the choice is two school of thought or two concepts. If you want to stick on liberal democracy, it will have 9 characters. The constitution, what it will come, it will follow the principle like common citizenship, individual equality, individual rights, diversity, ignore legal singularity, non-nationalistic, asymmetry, total difference, and meritocracy. Our new constitution will have that characters. But if you go to the another model, inclusive citizenship, you will find the another 9 differentiated citizenship, group equality, collective right of social group, diversity, legal productivity, state national, academic, and justice. So now still it is not yet decided, but these two models of the democracy is in contest. Finally, what the political equation suggests us? People, I mean, Nepal ma iti to bibino inclusion ko pura sangheta ko pura ma iti divided opinion. I mean, paहिले to jab chhade thina people did not have no idea. Now it is not good to divide the people all the times. So how we can really make a reconciliation, and reconciliation role for this political equation matters a lot. Maximalist approach is on rails in the present set of political equations emerged after the November 2013 election. It could happen in the first CA political equation. But the second CA, which the political equation that produced CA second, it does not permit to take the maximum. Okay, if you are rejecting the maximum practices, so does it work the minimalist approach? Minimalist approach is inadequate to address the agenda of excluded. Because it, unlike in the 2006, so everybody's individual, people talk about the individual in the past. Now people have begun to talk about the collective, group identity, good pride. Furthermore, it is contrary to the spirit of outstanding political agreement and settlement, like November 2005 Find Understanding, November 2006 Comprehensive Peace Agreement, Interim Constitution 2000 Agreement made between state and ethnic groups between January 2000 and April 2000. All together, एक वटा चाहिँ agreement चल्नु भएको छ. अस्ति यो resolve committee लाई दिएको. So if you go to the minimalist approach, it will you have to go against the whole development of the post-2006. So in the given context, I see the reconciliatory way is middle way is possible. One is how middle way could be materialized. Resumption of IP's corpus or Madesi corpus, and the decision was made in when the procedural committees made. Okay, let the procedural make it silence on caucus. So it means they are following what happened in the first CA. Second is it depends on how much Maoist studies role. This is Nepali Congress and UML. Nowadays everybody see Nepali Congress and UML like a pure and hardly they were divided. But the politics does not allow to go first largest and second largest party for the long. My prediction is after the UML's convention, then the present equation will be changed, and I doubt that Sisikoilala will continue after that. So, I mean, one of the reasons is Hong Parliament always produce change of the government very fastly. See the second tenure of Parliament, 94 to 99. In that 5 years, we changed the government 7 times. In first CA election, we did have again the Hong Parliament. We changed the government in 4 years 5 times, and so that story will coming to repeat in different shape. And so present set of the partnership of Congress and UML, I doubt its continuity. The third is inter-party caste-based polarization. अघि पनि मैले एउटा भने मान्छे चेतन मन अवचेतन मनले सामूहिक कुरा गर्न थालेछ अनि you will find a lot of some sort of the hobnob of the Congress, Madhesis, MRS, Madhesis sitting together and looking the way to exert a collective pressure why Madhesis are ignored in the cabinet, because in previous first CA they enjoy greater number of representation. Greater number of representation in cabinet means more was there. To interest will help them to work informal cause. Pressure politics outside the CA. Then eventually, if we Nepali people are lucky, you don't need to compromise your change agenda, and you don't need to go far ahead, or what is it, which is many people say impossible, impractical. So middle way may be a solution for problems. Thank you. I'll be happy to hear from you.
Thank you, Professor Hachhethu. Let's have question and answer session. Please be brief on your question and put your direct questions. Let's bring 2 or 3 questions at one time and allow the person to respond to those questions.
I'm Niranjan.
Okay,
I have a question that I think the CPN, UML and...
Excuse me, could you introduce yourself so that will be easier for a conversation.
Okay, I'm Niranjan Adhikari and I live in Washington DC. I work at a law firm and a lawyer here. And I was at the movement, the democracy movement when it happened, 6-7. So I was wondering, I think NC and UML have promised that they will continue what was agreed to in CA1. So I don't know what are they going to change from those, I guess the resolution or anything which they have agreed. I guess other than name of the provinces, and maybe giving ethnic-based provinces, I think they're pretty much, there was agreement, I think, between Maoist and other parties. So I was wondering, what is the new equation, or what is the new changes they're suggesting? Thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for this fascinating talk, very informative. I'm Vivek Pandey, and like my friend Niranjan, I'm also a lawyer, but he's far better than I am. I also work at a law firm. My question is, you made a statement early on that you read the 2006 revolution or mass movement as a rejection by the masses of the 1990 democratic model. I would appreciate if you expand upon that. because that's a pretty broad statement to make, and I'm not exactly sure where you're coming from, because I mean, I could read the 2006 movement in a narrow sense as a rejection of the monarchy, the autocratic rule that Nepal was in at that time, and essentially a move towards the 1990 model of what in the one of the slides is liberal democracy, respecting individual rights and other issues. And the second question I have is maybe more of an invitation for you to take a more comparative outlook. And I'm sure you've done it in your number of books. I have to be honest, I haven't read all of them. I've read one or two of your articles. But maybe, I mean, if you begin from our neighbor, India. Because a lot of these experiments, whether you look at Mandal Commission, a lot of them have been tried, and there's a very torturous history in India for some of these ideas. We've just seen a massive electoral change in India. The youth in Nepal have, I presume, the same aspirations as the youth in India. The basic aspirations of the people are very same, the better quality life. In the election results that we just saw, it transcended caste, transcended ethnicity, transcended gender, and people voted for a Hindu nationalist party, but that ran on the platform of good governance and anti-corruption. That's my question.
Nimesh Tungana, I live in Washington DC and I work here at American University. Thank you so much for that talk, Professor. I was just fascinated by the how you started the talk, that and I think I agree that one thing that is permanent about Nepal is its instability. Since 1951, we've been seeing, we've been facing this instability, and I wonder, especially since we've had 4 different constitutions since 1950, 1951. But you seem to suggest that promulgating this constitution, that the new constitution that would reflect the aspirations of 2006 movement is the only way out. That's the only. But what as a as a political scientist, what assurance do you give to the people that this is another agenda would not evolve in another few years, that this is basically would add to our stability? And the other question, as a to you more as your research method as a political scientist, I was wondering, in your work, I know you do a lot of work with electoral data and party. You've written a lot on party and state building. What other methods, research methods, do you use, or are you using in your method? Have you been doing a lot of interviews with people lately? And if you could talk a little bit about what the sentiments of the people are in the comments.
Let's address those parties.
Okay. I mean, yes, all 3 different questions, but interrelated questions. I think it would be good to start with responding what was the 1990s model. This was rejected. I just wanted to when I had to write an article on negotiation behind the constitution making in 1991, I had extensive interviews with all the members who were involved in that drafting committees, and I got an impression which is later validated with Krishna Hachhethu's statement. He said that while that commission collected the public opinion, more than 75% opinions comes about caste, ethnicity, religion, region. And he said these are the peripheral issues, and the central issues was democracy, consolidated democracy. Then at that time, the clear mandate was given. The mandate was to frame a new constitution based on parliamentary democracy and constitutional monarchy. So the whole, you will find that that constitution was built on based on the ethos of liberal democracy. Do you remember when that constitution was promulgated? If you want to see how it was responded, why Muslim did not celebrate, why Christian did not celebrate, why Janajati did not celebrate, why Madhesi did not celebrate. Only the party which celebrated immediately after promulgation of the Nepali Congress. Even UML did not celebrate. It has a 27 critical support. What is the inadequacy of the 1990s model is that could be best in the homogeneous state. For instance, it could be best for the Japan, it could be best for the UK's where the society is homogeneous. But if society is heterogeneous, and if your constitution doesn't address the diversity, then when that constitution was in crisis, why did not Madhesi did not come to save it? Why did not Janajatis did not love it? Why women did not want it? Everybody's left. So the alternative rejection of 1990s, and I understand your friend which background I belongs to. In terms of my affiliation, I don't belong to any political parties. Previously, I worked for the Navy when I was a student. But the day I joined the university in Sinas, then I realized that because from the very beginning I'm doing research on applied policy. A researcher must be independent, and you cannot be independent with carrying the party flag. I formally and by spiritly I give up the parties. From that days I don't belong to any political party. That is my strength also. So my understanding, 2006, if you go through the background, even will find understanding why they deliberately said Kathmandu Central Unitary State should be given bye-bye. And from even 12 point understanding that is the beginning entry point of the new vistas of Nepal, inclusive democracy was promised very much. So with very specific words, if not specific word in general, you will see a consistent promise from the state level, political actor levels to go for the inclusive democracy as an alternative, not an alternative, you can say. Liberal democracy and inclusive democracy is not antagonistic. Both have a common characteristic in many cases, but in some cases they have different way of the path. So, given to the nature of our society, given why 1990s, despite it was framed by heavily dominated pro-movement force, नौ सदस्य मतलब 3 कांग्रेस 3 एमाले के थे उनका राजा को रिजेक्शन का by movements dominant है why it could not sustain for long. It is not only the party matters, it is because that constitution has serious lapses. There is not a single word. Even महिलाहरूको पनि reservation for candidacy, not reservation for seat, हैन. So how Nepal as a diverse society was ignored, and the other attributes that constitution carried is liberal पनि त्यो गर्न conventional liberal democracy. So that idea was rejected, and the new ideas. If you even the very hardcore liberal Democrats nowadays in public speech, they can't ignore this. So that is why rejection of 1990s model is somehow replacement with the notion of inclusive democracy. अर्को election result को बारे चाहिँ okay, election result in South Asia, if you give the let us say Indian election in many cases except the 2-3 last अब 16 भनेपछि 14, 13, 12 except 12, 13, 14 election, and this is a repetition of it. In national election it always goes for the national parties, but provincial election favor to the regional parties is a trend from 1967 onward. This time when specific ethnic issues was over-dominated by the larger, whether establishment or the change. Right? I mean, But in subsequent provincial elections, you will find the repetition of 1967 onwards. In Nepal also, many people shocked the result from the second C election. But I'm very clear. In the national election, ethnic and regional parties cannot win. Their immediate possible political space is the provincial level. अहिले Limbuan Parishad भनेर 21 वटा there are 21 Limbu names association. None of even Kumar Linden failed to get victory. But you will find difference of voting pattern. तीनवटा national level, provincial level, and local level. You will see change of the voters' choice. National level, most favorable for national parties. Provincial level, most favorable for the 10 ethnic / regional party. At the local level, favorable for relatives. Uncle padya huncha, sasural padya, koi na koi padya huncha. So people doesn't vote in the same pattern in these 3 elections. So it is more or less true in our electoral stage. Are you satisfied with that response, with your questions that the political instability is a permanent character of Nepal? Can we expect some sort of political stability if we follow some new alternative model of the democracy? We have many lot of weaknesses. Stability comes if there is charisma. We don't have charisma. In the absence of charisma, stability comes through the institutionalization. Nepal has a very poor track record of following the institutionalization. And how much beautiful provisions you will advocate. I don't see that we will be emancipated from the 1915 onwards political instability games. Then I relate with Niranjan Ji's. What is the NC-UMLA had a good alliance in first CA. In first CA, NC-UMLA has a common target. Maowadi, eti antarma Congress or MLA bhanda eti antarma jitekuma, votes have some common enemy ones, a common vote. After second CA elections, because of the substantive decline of Mao is no longer threat for them. And exceptionally matter, you will hardly get any record, except in the war period. The first and second largest party make the alliance. This alliance, your alliance, it is because of the legacy of the first CA. Legacy of the first CA is all of sudden emergence of Maoists. Everybody is shocked. And just the political science ko pandita sabai fail. The bela Maoist will be the third largest party. First largest party more than double than the second largest party. That particular electoral result has created some sort of the imperative alliance between Congress and Congress. The imperative components will gradually reduce. Early now, every Congress and UMLA will compete to gain the confidence of Maoist and analysis. To gain the Kyoto Banakri, Amika the one Susu Kuala 8%. Bosses a capacity to yoke person money whatsoever. Then what I'm predicting is definitely whoever leaders come as most likely if God bless the health of the Khadga will likely to be the leader of your convention that. And we know how ambitious Khadga is. And then definitely Khadga will try to share value of Congress. Congress might just do their Chhattis group was created. Then the Chhattis group was alliance with the Manmohan and carried Dubai Darbar Garko. To follow this, what we have produced after 1950, especially in politics of government making and on making, it is likely to repeat. On that way, I am predicting that the life of the present government will be short-lived. and many things will be clear after you manage national convention. Okay, research method. Okay, in my life, when I started my career, I always followed a book prescription, going to the field, administering the questionnaire, then interviewing the peoples, and only then product. Over the times, gradually, I'm thanks God because I have to do periodical citizen survey about democracy as being a coordinator, country coordinator of South Asia Democracy Network and Southeast, Global Democracy Barometer based on the Chile. And quantitative part have become part of my research. So all the times I speak with quantity, but it is not that much tasty. Mathematician will be happy, economist will be happy, political science, if you simply say the data, that person favor that person, it will not have appeal to audience. That is why I mix both quality and quantity. And the qualitative information, most of the qualitative information I collected from the field. I don't take the Kathmandu's opinion as a Nepalese opinion. Kathmandu is, म पनि काठमाडौँवासी हो, धेरै रियाक्सन छ के काठमाडौँवासी. Actually, if you need to know the voice of the real people, you have to go out of Kathmandu. I mean, I have an opportunity to go. खाली मेरो श्रीमतीलाई मात्र अप्ठ्यारो हुन्छ, बाहिरै यता हुन्छ उता हुन्छ. And yes, a lot of information I collected from outside also. And bistarai I have my personal observation about the state organs and especially my interaction with the state machinery when I was a member of the State Restriction Commission is very much, that is one of the, that my strengths that I'm translating it into a book form. There is not a single sources. I follow all these three sources, and as a student of political science, I'm trying my best. I never compromise most of the in my article you will not find you will not find assumption-based stories, and I don't believe that. And maybe after when I crossed the 75s, I did not fulfill. At that time, maybe my publication will be reflection of my assumption. Till now, I'm trying my best to respect the good methodology I can do.
Let's have another round of questions. Yeah. I'm Sagar, I'm a graduate student in political science as well. You didn't touch on that a little bit, but what ramifications do you see with the new government, supermajority almost coming to power in India, regarding Nepal's political calculus? How does that, or whatever happens within Nepal, affect when or if the constitution is going to be met anytime soon?
Many people predict.
No question.
Okay, let's start this one.
That's it. Okay. So interestingly, there is some continuity and discontinuity.
Right.
Major change happen in Nepal has very close connectivity with the change in India. For instance, India and independence and 1951. Introduction of democracy, which Nehru's middle-way policies, and we don't need to talk much about it. And when we had another change in 1990, there was a personal rift between Birendra and Rajiv Gandhi, and there was armed import from China, a lot of talks, and it led to change. And in between, even in between, referendum happened when Janta government was still. But is it going to continue? I see discontinuity. How? Because if those who are closely watching the Indian foreign policies, 50s, especially in 50s and 60s, Indian foreign policy was largely set by the leaders, political leaders. Nehru has his own imagination for
so much for your fascinating presentation. I really like you differentiate very well about liberal democracy and inclusive democracy and those all things. I do assume that I mean, this is the argument here. I believe that liberal democracy is not the inclusive one. And also, I think you have a set of hypothesis that identity-based federalism do well in Nepal, and I think this is your hypothesis here. I believe so. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So, but after the elections, everyone knows that Maoist lost the elections, and the Maoists were who so advocated in favor of ethnic identity-based federalism. Of course, identity means Nepal is ethnicity. So, but now the people are saying Maoist actually, the Maoist party actually they didn't lose, but their idea, their agenda was lost. I mean, they were their idea was defeated. That means ethnicity-based federalism. So, and you made the presentation that the lead they did not celebrate, and one they did not celebrate. Whatever the change happened in the past, for second, third transitions or revolutions or whatever in Nepal, and this is going to be seems like after the elections that whatever the Congress and Himalaya and some other parties, including the international forces in India, European, United States, and all of this, they are not in fact favor of identity-based federalism. So, what do you think the results that is for the ethnicity-based?
Yes, you are wise is one school of thought, which is very dominant in Nepal. If you go through the media, and this is the dominant idea, and if you follow the public lecture by the leaders. My point is, because as an academic, in the immediately after the election, I wrote a paper in the how do you see this election? Because that is the puzzle result for me. For me, number one answer is it is a consistency of the all other previous election. Anti-incompetency has always been against the ruling party. The second is, does it mean that it is a mandate against mandate for rejection of ethnicity as political and federal constituencies? On the second point, I have a reservation. I see the complete different campaign in the first CA election and the second CA election. In first CA election, almost all political parties give emphasis to the public meeting, public speeches. And public meeting and public speeches definitely the agenda. But this time, hardly political parties follow that. And individual candidates heavily rely on door-to-door campaign. Do you believe when a candidate and the voters encounter each other, do you believe that they will talk about the federalism? That is the second. The third is, if you go through the media, almost all the medias have made an honest that in this election, people are talking about the development, people are talking about education, people are talking about the income, people are not talking about the federalism. So, my point is, this election, it is at least for the student political life, it is difficult to see the election result like the referendum. If it is the referendum, good, right? But my point is, federalism was not that much the dominant issues as CA first election. In the CA second election, of course, they carried a flag, but they did not what is it, interpret, they did not give any content about the federalism. No Congress MLA saying federalism भन्दैन भनेर गएको छ. Only election manifest that is space that we prefer for 8 provinces and 7 provinces. And hardly they go for the public space. Public space ma nagएपछि interpret गर्नै पर्दैन. They are, because all are conscious about the possible negative consequences of talking the federalism. Congress like ke ho ta bhanake Congress MLA ko obviously you are right. If you go through constantly, they are both of them are taking the territorial federalism as their preference, but they did not interpret and they did not go in the second stage election with that. It was largely confined to election manifesto. Maowadis, of course, they put the banner, Paisan Sahitko Sangheta, Sangheta Sahitko Samvidhan, but they did not give a specific content and give on the public space. Simply, many major political parties confined their line of thinking about the federalism in their own election manifesto, which is studies only. तपाईं हामी जस्तो रिसर्च गर्ने मान्छेहरूले 60 पेजको भए पनि पढ्न पर्छ. For the rest of the people, that's it. So for as a student of politics, and this election result is, it will be at least for me, it is difficult to say whether it is rejection of identity-based federalism, identity as a political constituency. How identity is reviving, म तपाईलाई एकपटक चाहिँ अहिले के भइरहेछ भनेर what I draw. यो संविधान 1 वर्षभित्र बनाउनै भएको भए कांग्रेस र एमालेले मधेसी पार्टीहरूलाई चाहिँ सत्ताभन्दा बाहिर राख्दैन. How many numbers is not the matter, right? Where is the strategic area the Madhesi parties have can make the things. And ध्यान नगरेपछि त Nepal cannot make a constitution without adopting to Madhesis. हामीले त्यो बेला पनि हेरिसकेका छौँ. Madhes is the plain line. It is the outlet of our country. For good and bad. त्यता एउटा सँगै. अनि Madhes is irrespective to. कोही कांग्रेस होला, कोही एमाले होला, कोही फोरम होला, कोही न कोही नाता चाहिँ पर्दो छ. ससुरालीबाट नर्दै यताबाट. And they had tested the power in the first CA election. This time, one Madhesi from the Congress, Bimlendra Devi, one Madhesi from the MLA, Pandit. And you every evening you will find gathering of the Congress Madhesi, MLA Madhesi. We have been overlooked by our party leaders. How can we collectively put the expert? Informal caucus is reviving very rapidly. That is also case of the Janajatis. These are overshadows because time has not come to contest. The normal when the first draft of CA, पहिलो draft if they success, पहिलो draft आएपछि then we will see polarization. त्यसकारण मेरो middle way भनेको न त यो के भन्छ अग्राधिकार सहितको त्यसपछि यो अरु जातिलाई कम्प्लिटली रिजेक्ट गरेर खाली त्यो एउटा नारामा आएको छ नि. In many public spaces I say that if we have to make a memorandum rejecting the ethnic federalism, please put my name at the top, but don't misinform the people that identity-based and ethnic federalism is the same. Of course, ethnic federalism doesn't have a universal definition, but the 3 countries are considered as ethnic federal countries: Belgium, Ethiopia, and Bosnia and Herzegovina.
But Ethiopia is having a problem to get out of the problem.
Ethnic federalism भएको भनेको देश यो 3टा हो. बाकी countryहरूले partly मात्र adopted गर्छ. Look the system they have, and are we follow their model? No, except name. त्यहाँ त के हो त भनेको बेल्जियममा आदि मन्त्री फ्रेन्च स्पिकिङ भयो भने आदि चाहिँ डच स्पिकिङै हुनुपर्ने, आदि न्यायाधीश फ्रेन्च स्पिकिङ भयो भने आदि नै न्याय हुनुपर्ने. उनीहरू इक्वल नम्बरमा त्यो everything is ethnic line. Ethiopia also to the extent what I do separate. Bosnia Herzegovina presidency मा चाहिँ एकजना यो इथेनको अर्को यो भनेर एभ्री त्यो पावर सेन्ट्रल हाम्रोमा त के हो त भन्दाखेरि द आइडिया इज हाउ टु रिकग्नाइज द डाइभर्सिटी लेट्स गिभ द नेम इफ यो अगाडिको जेनेरेसनमा म त अलिकति लिबरल भएको छु हामी वी आर ट्रेन बाई द फ्रम द भेरी बिगिनिङ पञ्चायतले बनाएको सिलेबसबाट ट्रेन भयो इन माई माइन्ड वाट इज नेपाल भनेर इट अलवेज कम 14 अञ्चल 75 जिल्ला एन्ड द्याट इज द वाट इज द 1 माउथ अफ द 3 quarters what is the imagination of Nepal? It is the question of the panchayat nationalism. त्योभन्दा बियोन्डमा एकपटक सोचौँ त हाम्रो अगाडिको जेनेरेसनहरू तपाईँहरू मैले कुनै तपाईँ झापा भयो होइन स्टिल म त्यहाँ जाँदाखेरि ओल्डर एजका मान्छेहरू 5 जानु भन्दा लिम्बुवान जाने भन्दा रहेछ सो इभन हिस्टोरिकल ल्यान्ड इज इन इमेजिनेसन इन द्याट लिभ इन द वर्ल्ड What is wrong? यो देशमा लिम्बूसँग कुनै ठाउँको नाम हामी अहिले पनि बाहुनडाँडा भन्छौँ मगरगाउँ भन्छौँ आई एम लिभिङ इन द मगरगाउँ इट डज नट मेक द नेसेसिटी द्याट द मगर सुड बी द वार्डछेउ होइन वार्डछेउ इज द समथिङ थापा इफ वी डल्ली आई मिन डाइभर्सिटी वी सेलिब्रेट डाइभर्सिटी आई डोन्ट सी द गिभिङ द नेम धेरै ठाउँमा मैले त कहीँ पनि त्यो नेमले प्रब्लम आएको होइन आई डोन्ट नो व्हाट इज रङ विथ दोस्रो कुरा त्यो कुरा चाहिँ आम भेरी क्लियर अहिलेसम्म त्यो 28वटा जुन फेडरल कन्ट्रिज भन्छ नि कुनै पनि कन्ट्रिजमा इकोनोमिक इज द नट द डिटर्मिनिङ फ्याक्टर फर द क्रिएसन अफ द फेडरलिजम त्यो रिजल्टमा इकोनोमी देखियो ओन्ली द टु आइदर इफ यु हेभ अ फ्यु फ्रम द एक्सटर्नल देन कमिङ टुगेदर लाइक स्विस एन्ड द अमेरिकन वर्ल्ड इफ यु फिल सम थ्रेट इन द नेसनल इन्टिग्रेसन then holding together त्यो अनि इकोनोमी चाहिँ बाइप्रोडक्ट रहेछ इकोनोमिक कारणले फेडरल कुनै पनि कन्ट्री फेडरल भएको छैन रहेछ अनि हामी कहाँ के भन्छ त भन्दाखेरि के भन्छ क्यापेबिलिटी मस्ट बी फर्स्ट डेभलपमेन्ट मस्ट हामी कहाँ पनि आएको त फेडरलिजमको कुरा आएको त म त कहीँ पनि इकोनोमी देख्न मधेसीहरूले चाहिँ जनजातिहरूले फिल गरे वी आर डिप्राइभ भनेर तर तपाईँहरूलाई थाहा छ भने नेपालको जनजाति मुभमेन्ट्स फ्रम द भेरी बिगिनिङ वेन कम द फर्मल प्रेसिडेन्ट इट इज हाइली इम्प्रुभ बाई द लेफ्ट उनीहरू त्यस कारण चाइनिज मोडलको भने चाहिँ जातीय स्वायत्तता हुन्छ नि यु विल नट हियर फेडरल वर्ड्स फ्रम द आदिवासी जनजातिज प्लेटफर्म बिफोर 2006 हामी कहाँ जातीय स्वायत्तता इथनिक अटोनोमी चाह भन्छ विच इज अब हामी कहाँ इफ यु सी द ब्याकग्राउन्ड अफ द जो जनजाति महासङ्घको अध्यक्ष भएको छ अल लेफ्ट अनि उनीहरू लेफ्टको नेपालको 7 सालदेखि इन्डरेल गरेको के हो त भन्दाखेरि इन्डिया इज प्रोजेक्टेड
Thank you.